Hey folks, good morning. Welcome back to Chris White Africa here on the Indaba Africa channel, part of the Indaba Broadcasting Network on a Leka Suntag. How is it going, folks? How you doing? Well, what a morning so far here on the East Coast. We have people in the mountain time zone here in the U.S. waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to join our concert with Manie Jackson. Wow, it was epic. Thanks to those who joined us. We didn't have a big crowd, but we had a pretty solid crowd that stuck with us the whole time. It was pretty awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. And Manie doesn't know this, but I will be sending him donations from the stream. Thank you all so much for that. I joked with Manie about getting to perform a concert for me for 1,000 Rand. Well, we'll be able to pay him that today. My hair, it looks kind of weird here. The wrong side. This one here is kind of fluffy. Anyway, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to have you with me here this morning on a Sunday morning. Wow. Goeiedag, Zuid-Afrika. Wow. Rainbow Nasi. Oh, not so much these days, but we won't get into that. That's rather depressing. We're not going to talk about that. Welcome to everybody in the stream. And hello to my sister who's sitting out there. Pleasure to have you all join us. Well, let's see. We've got some news to talk about, and that was a concert. I know that a lot of you were in the group that are here now were actually watching the concert. What'd you think? It was amazing. De Himmelvet, when he sings De Himmelvet, it's like, whew, awesome song. Really well done, Manie. Thank you so much. A brilliant concert. It was really, really enjoyable. He's got quite a presence there, and you can just imagine him on stage. This guy sang for years in bars and pubs for nothing. No fee, no cover charge, nothing. People just went to the bars and they heard him sing, and he took, tips if he got tips, but that's when he made his living from for years until finally someone recognized him and recognized his talent, and he made it big. And now he's huge. He's huge. Anyway, and he didn't even sing any of my favorite Manie Jackson songs. But quite a range. Usually I want to run into the other room and vomit when I hear country music. But, when Manie sings it, I'm good with it. When Giselle sings country music, I'm okay with it. Usually not my genre. Maybe I'm getting softer in my my youth. I'm not sure which it is. But anyway, Monique says, thank you so much for the concert. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot too. Thank you. Listen to the words of this song, okay? Monique says Afrikaans music rocks. It does. It's awesome. And it's really been freed from the yoke of Calvinist security state oppression that really lets people experiment and do what they want to do with it. It's really cool. And it's cool. Well, Jen, to be fair, he's that's his third attempt. So hopefully the third time's a charm for Manie, as he disclosed on our previous stream. That's his third wife. So hopefully it works out well for him. Looks like he's very happy. Anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in on this Sunday morning. I just wanted to do a stream, a brief one, a short one, just to thank everybody who was able to watch the video. If you didn't watch it, go back and take a peek at it. It was pretty good. Managed to keep the buffering down to a minimum. It was mostly just the first 5 minutes or so. I'm still not on the new computer. I spent a lot of time last night taking this microphone and that camera and setting them up on the Beast, and they worked. Now I have to dig out my Bose sound system, which I'm going to hook up to the computer when I get it in here. There's still some little tetchy things to fix on the computer, which I need help from the tech support guys. But the computer works great. It works great. Just, I'm a perfectionist. Number one, I paid for additional, colored lights. I don't see those. The copy of Windows says it's not valid. It is, but I need them to give me the code. They forgot to stick in the box. Little things like that. But the RAM issue is resolved. I seated that properly, so the Beast is up and running. And boy, I'm glad I bought a new monitor for it. I look at this monitor, which is like 23 inches, 24 inches, and I think it's big. And the same, I've got a second monitor here, same size. And then I look at the 32-inch monitor I just bought, and it doesn't sound much bigger, but wow, it's a lot bigger. So it's really going to make a difference. Now, it's a curved screen, which will make it possible for me potentially to have three screens on the table here. We'll see. Certainly two. No, I could sort it, Jen. Thanks. It's not a problem. I know what I'm doing, but I've got it sorted out. Nearly missed this. What, this stream, Olaf? No, it's probably a notification because I did it less than 30 minutes out. It usually doesn't notify people if you don't post something 30 minutes out. Folks, listen, if you're watching now, please come back and watch us later today at 6 p.m. South Africa, Botswana, and Namibia time. And that would be 11 a.m. here in the East Coast after I go out in the, what's the temperature now? It's cold outside. Let me tell you that. Baby, it's cold outside. It's definitely cold outside. Let's take a look at this. Oh, yeah, it's a little brisk out there. It is 25 degrees Fahrenheit, which would be about -4 or 5 Celsius. Yep, a little bit nippy outside, but once I finish this stream, I'll get ready and go out and do some exercise. Yesterday, I went up running to get back for my stream on time. It's funny because the day before, I did less videos, and I had more viewership. Yesterday, I had like 7 videos, and viewership was down a little bit, but still better than it has been of late. So that's awesome. Lucky Dube is the only South African artist I know. Really Drunken Yoda. Oh, there's you've never heard of. There's some pretty amazing groups from South Africa. Some pretty talented folks, but from all genres. But I focus on Afrikaans performers here, not the only ones, but that's it from South Africa. That's what I focus on, and try to get them on the channel. So I've got someone who's helping me out now who claims to have connections in the music industry, and is getting me contact information, a whole list of artists, and we'll see if that comes through. That person promised that, and if that's the case, maybe I'll get some more artists on here soon. So pretty cool. But yeah, so Manie Jackson's Valentine's Day video is now on the Afrikaans playlist on the channel. Yep, I have a playlist for Afrikaans music specifically. I created it this week because now we've got, it's called the Afrikaanse Musikanten Onderhoede en Optredens, which is interviews and performances with Afrikaans musicians. Yep, that's 7 videos on there now, so you're welcome to check that out. Go to my playlist and you can see it, and just check it out if you want to do that. Anyway, so welcome to everybody. Well, that's nice and cold too. This drink, the Starbucks right here, it's feeling kind of cold. But welcome to the stream. 19 in the Buckeye State. Whoa, Jen, you got a little bit colder than I've got it here. I tell you, we get milder weather here in central Pennsylvania, just below the Appalachian. I mean, well, just below. It's actually to the west of me. The Appalachian Mountains are mountains. You know, it's not like Wyoming or Montana or Berchtesgaden or the Schweiz or somewhere like that, or Österreich. No, it's not those kind of mountains. Not those. These mountains were like that, millions of years ago. But now they've kind of worn down, and so they look more like hills. But the mountains are just to the west of here, and then they go slightly north of here, and they curve to the east. So they kind of put like a shield, and they kind of have an impact on the weather. And so the weather's a little bit milder here. But there is a ski lodge just 5 kilometers away from where I'm at, and so obviously we get some good weather here. I don't know, Jen. I don't know if she'll be here. Usually she is. Hey, Andre van Eden, how are you? And Olaf is back. That's far too cold for me. No, it's perfect for me. Well, not perfect. I prefer, my favorite weather is in the 50s, 60s. 60s is ideal. 60 degrees Fahrenheit is ideal, which would make that about, 15 Celsius. I think that is somewhere around there. Hey, Dane Apsil is watching from the UAE. Well, welcome into you. Pleasure to have you coming in from that part of the world. A little bit later in the day for you. You must be approaching evening by now, so welcome. It's already nighttime in Tokyo, 10 o'clock in Tokyo itself, out there in Japan. In Perth, it's 9 p.m., and in Wellington, it's tomorrow already. Folks in New Zealand, it's already tomorrow. That's probably why Peter Crutchley's not here, because it's tomorrow. Yeah, 5 p.m. That's what I said. You're approaching evening, just an hour away. Cool. Just an hour away. Yep. Hey, Valerie's back. Good to see you again, Valerie. Yes, a little bit of news, folks. By the way, New Zealand, who sanctimoniously preached to the rest of the world about how they conquered COVID twice now, guess what? COVID's back. And they have no explanation. Funny that, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, COVID is back in New Zealand. And they look at this pain expression on Jacinda Ardern's face. This is priceless. Not to revel in people's misery, but we all get the sense of not again. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern told a news conference, look at that pain look on her face. Wow. New Zealand's largest city of Auckland will go into a 3-day lockdown just before midnight following. So they're in lockdown now. Wow. Following the discovery of 3 unexplained coronavirus cases in the community. Now it's moved after an urgent meeting with other top lawmakers. She said they decided to take the cautious approach until they find out more about the outbreak, including whether the infections are more of the more contagious variants, like the Azania variant from South Africa. Yep, it's the first in New Zealand in 6 months, and a significant setback for the nation's largely successful efforts to control the virus. It will also force a delay in America's Cup sailing regatta. Well, that's unfortunate. New Zealand successfully stamped out community spread, and many people elsewhere in the world looked on in envy as New Zealanders went back to work and began attending concerts and sporting events without the need to wear masks or take other precautions. Indeed, on Sunday, she had planned to attend the Big Gay Out, an Auckland festival that celebrates the rainbow community and homosexuality and attracts tens of thousands of people. She ended up canceling those plans, returning to Wellington. I'm asking New Zealanders to continue to be strong and be kind. What the hell does kind have to do with anything? How do you defeat a virus with kindness? I know we all feel the same when this happens. We all get that sense of not again. But remember, we've been here before, and that means we know how to get out of this again. And once again, the sycophantic leftist media will fawn praise all over and pour praise all over Jacinda Ardern, the leftist icon, whom they like to lionize and claim that New Zealand has done such a brilliant job against COVID. Well, it's a tiny little nation of 4.9 million people located on a pimple of the earth way down below, not near anything. Shutting down your air borders and shutting your ports pretty much isolates you. And that's what they did. And those who had COVID, they locked up like prisoners in leper camps. That's right. Locked them away so they couldn't go anywhere. So before you heap too much praise on New Zealand, let's put things in perspective, which I've done many occasions here. And I am one of the few people who's done it because I do not fear the Chi-Coms. So, let's take a look at New Zealand, and let's take a look at a country that has done demonstrably better than New Zealand, also an island nation, located directly adjacent to the source of this horrific nonsense, and that is Taiwan. Let's take a look at Taiwan and see what's going on in Taiwan. So, remember a year ago, people used to, crazily look at this every day, look at this worldometer thing. So, Taiwan. Okay. So, New Zealand gets held up, but let's take a look at Taiwan. Here you go, folks. Taiwan has 937 cases, which is twice as many as when I first started talking about Taiwan's success back in August. 9 deaths, 937. So they have 69 active cases in the country. 69. Country of 24 million people, right? Okay. Where are they talking about Taiwan? Why are they not talking about Taiwan? Let's look at New Zealand now. New Zealand, by comparison, has over twice, 2.5 times as many cases. A country 1/5 the size of Taiwan and located on the ass end of the earth, nowhere near China, has 250% of the infections that a country of 25 million has, 5 times its size, 165 kilometers from mainland China, the source of this scourge. 25 deaths. So nearly 3 times as many deaths. Yet New Zealand is the genius. Why aren't we not talking about Taiwan? Why? Because of the Chi-Coms and the deputy president of the Chinese Communist Party, Joe Biden. That's why. Debbie Burns, hello to you. Happy Valentine's Day. Trump team shut down liberals, second impeachment sham, forecast beginning tsunami. Well, I hope so. They have control of all the branches of the government. They will now attempt to make D.C. a federal city into a state, which is fraudulent, make Puerto Rico a commonwealth into a state, which is fraudulent. It should be released and sent on its independence and stop dragging us down with them. They will also attempt to limit our ability to exercise our second right amendments. They will attempt to put through House Resolution 1, which completely undermines voting in this country, allowing people to simply go online and register without identification. It actually forbids the requirement to produce identification to prove you're actually the person coming to vote. So anybody can vote as many times they want at different polling stations. On election day, you can drive around and vote 50 different places because you don't have to produce identification. There's no record of it. Yeah, this is what they want in House Resolution 1. So, they're going to do everything they can now. Henry Ford says, I'm going to immigrate to Houston, Texas, as soon as I can get. Can't wait. Houston used to be the murder capital of America, but it's been overtaken by Chicago. A lot of bad stuff happens in Houston, but it is a major energy-producing state and has nice parts too, though. Andre says he's well. That's excellent. Snow is heading your way again. Oh, it looks well. That's what I heard. I heard it's going to snow. Valerie says, can't listen. I'm in the company of my family. Well, get your family to listen, Valerie. They're welcome to listen too. Failed look. What's that mean, Hendo? Okay, what else? All right, so there you go. Did not watch the stream. Yeah, I'm confused too. What's he saying? Yeah, Debbie, I hope that indeed that the vile, venal, vindictive leftists have gotten the message, but they haven't. Can you imagine, ladies and gentlemen, that 57 senators out of 100 are functionally illiterate. They're incapable of critical thinking and analysis and reading modern, well, not modern standard written English, is 19th century English, or 18th century English. Yeah. But they're incapable of reading the Constitution. And they actually voted to impeach Donald Trump on the basis of no evidence whatsoever. I'm sorry. Video clips cherry-picked of Donald Trump giving speeches do not constitute evidence of a crime, especially when it's intentionally done to distort, which is what the so-called House impeachment managers did. So, yeah, but Donald Trump has survived that once again, and now they are wetting their nappies because polls show that CBS poll, by the way, CBS poll, not Rasmussen, not any of these other polls that are neutral or leaning to the right, completely objective, not objective, completely left. CBS poll indicates that 70% of Republicans would consider joining a party if Trump starts one. Wow. Let me tell you something. Here's a prediction right now, ladies and gentlemen. Not a fan of Donald Trump, but if Donald Trump started a social media site tomorrow, as long as it worked, didn't have hiccups, if he started one tomorrow, he would have 8 million subscribers day one. He would have 25 million subscribers by the end of the first week on that product. He would be able to get between 6 and 15 million paying members the first week. If they paid $10 a piece per month to be on that social media network, which millions would do, 10 million people, $10 per month is $100 million. That's $1.2 billion a year in revenue before any advertising, before any cost. Donald Trump could recover the wealth that he's lost because of the attacks by these slime balls on the left who've undermined his private business interests while he was president. Just like that. I hope that Donald Trump is planning a social media network. I hope he is. With a YouTube-like function, with a Facebook-like function, with a Parler, Twitter-like function. He should do it all. And he will swamp these leftists. You see, YouTube needs billion people to watch it in order to make money. It makes money off the backs of content creators. But that's not unfair. I mean, they provide a network and all the infrastructure for us, so I'm not complaining. But they need all of us for them to become fabulously wealthy. A billion people. Twitter needs 2 billion people to make any money. Facebook has 2 billion. They need 1 billion people to make money. And they make a lot of it. But Donald Trump could make a fortune, make more money than them. He could clear more profit than them with a few tens of millions of subscribers. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. I'm telling you right now. You heard it here. I predicted before the election took place, if somehow Donald Trump lost, that he would come out with a media company and it would replace all these slime balls and the tech oligarchs. I predicted that. I never predicted he'd start another political party. I said it's a possibility, but I definitely predicted he would start a media company, and I hope he does. I hope he does. Not because I support Donald Trump, but because Jack Dorsey, Jeff Zuckerberg, or Mark Zuckerberg, what is it, Jeff or Mark? What the hell? Mark, Jeff is Jeff Zucker. It's Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah, sorry. Confusing. All these clowns, all these absolute clowns, these fascist, totalitarian slime balls who haven't earned anything. Yes, I know. Mark Zuckerberg created Facebook in college. Big whoop. Can't play? Let me check my video. Somebody said they can't play it live. Let me see what's going on. Let me see what's going on with that video. If it's been blocked or something. It might be blocked because some of the songs he played. Content. Let me see what's going on here. Give me a second here, folks. Let me see if the concert's blocked. It wasn't blocked when I checked a little bit ago, but software comes up and they start blocking things. No, it's not blocked. In fact, let me see if I can download it, and I'll do it now. It's not ready for download yet. I still have to wait. But yeah, it's available. I don't know why you can't play it. Someone told me earlier, U.S. Bourmeister, she couldn't play Giselle's concert from May 8th last year. I don't know why. It's there. It's not blocked. I can play it. It's strange. Other people I know can play it here in the U.S., so I don't understand what's going on there. Currently, I have the 3 of my most recent streams because Giselle's music, they're being edited to take out Giselle's song. But the Manie Jackson video is not prepared yet because they do processing, which changes the format and compresses it after the fact. So I'm waiting for that. Awesome Alice says, call it the Ultimate Connection. Well, I agree, Awesome Alice. That's a good name for it. Tsunami of subscribers, hate to be the moderators. Oh, yeah, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. Just watch news clips of Trump's lawyers ripping CBS News presenter A New Injustice. Stuff the fake news, mainstream leftist media is so good to watch. Well, I agree with you, Robert. I haven't seen that, but I think it's shameful what they did here. There was no evidentiary process whatsoever. There was simply a temper tantrum thrown by disgusting, vile, ambulance-chasing shyster lawyers and used car salesmen in the Democratic Party in the House of Representatives. They did no depositions. They saw no witness testimony. They reviewed no tape. They had no evidentiary process whatsoever. And they presented an article of impeachment along with 10 slimeball Republican Party members and sent it to the Senate. The Senate, for its part, conducted an unlawful, unconstitutional, illegitimate political show trial against a private citizen over whom it has zero jurisdiction. The Senate has no legal jurisdiction over a private citizen unless that citizen comes and testifies before Congress, and then they perjure themselves. That's different. But they have no control. And so they did an impeachment, which is a political process, not a criminal process. And they use this fraudulent stuff. Well, if we don't do this trial, Donald Trump and any future president can do whatever they wanted. No, they can't. If they commit crimes, you can charge them civilly. But you see, there is no crime here, and they know that. They would never get even a leftist attorney, district attorney, to file charges against, or a federal prosecutor to file charges against Donald Trump for this fraudulent claim of insurrection. Then you see this nonsense. I watched them yesterday, these jackasses in the Democratic Party in the Senate, still calling this the insurrection. It wasn't insurrection. I'm sorry, you missed Minneapolis, Seattle, Portland. Those were insurrections. You know, nobody on the Capitol Hill steps said this is an independent country. It wasn't the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. We didn't declare Chaz in D.C. on the 6th of January. We didn't beat people because of their skin color on the 6th of January. We didn't break and loot into Starbucks and McDonald's and stores and set up barriers declaring an independent nation. That is an insurrection. Perhaps their education level stopped in 4th grade. Learn what the word insurrection means. Unlawful entry, breaking into a federal building, is a crime. It's not insurrection. Domestic terrorism is a crime. It's not breaking into a federal building. That is not domestic terrorism. There are 5 elements of terrorism, and none of them are present. Awesome Alice. Yes, this reminds me of the trials for the group that were with Klaus von Stauffenberg, those aristocrats and members of the Wehrmacht who were taken out and given show trials and belittled and then executed, garroted with freaking piano wire. That's how they hung them to their deaths. Unbelievably sick. That's what this reminds me of. That's a good comparison. This is exactly like that. You know, I should make that comparison, make a video and show that, and put the judge, because that judge was a nasty Nazi, and show that as the Senate. Wow, that'll probably get me banned and deplatformed. It was a crowd of angry Americans lawfully assembling under our Constitution, which guarantees our inalienable rights, the right of assembly, the right to seek redress before our government. That's what happened. 500,000 people there. I was there as a journalist and as an American citizen, and I saw it. And I was there from 10 a.m. on the mall until 2 p.m. Shortly after 2 p.m. I left, and it was largely peaceful. There were agitators. There were Trump supporters who went in the building. There were agitators that had nothing to do with Trump that were trying to rile the crowd up with megaphones. Come closer, people. Come closer. Surge. Stop it. Calling the police traitors. We're like, stop it. We respect law enforcement. Who the hell are you people? And suddenly, large numbers of people, a couple dozen showing up with body armor and Kevlar helmets on. And then when they couldn't get anywhere, there's an entrance around the side. Let's go around the side. And that's where they broke in at, isn't it? Among other places. Yeah, no, all fraud, all fraud. A false flag operation in which some Trump supporters foolishly or stupidly became involved, including Ashley Babbitt, and she's no longer alive. What the hell was she thinking? Why are you breaking into the Capitol? What were you hoping to accomplish there? What was the plan? There wasn't one. Hence, there was no insurrection. Yes, Vikas, you're correct. They would try to stop him from doing it, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Back the blue line. Exactly, Debbie. You can hear me on one of my videos. This doofus little kid in his 20s says, "It's war! It's war! Get up there! Push the police!" And this guy's looking at me and goes, what do you think of this? I'm like, well, I think this is pretty stupid. What the hell are you talking about? It's war. It's war. They've declared war on us. I'm like, how many combat tours you got under your belt, Rocco? None, sir. Yeah, shut the hell up. That's pretty much verbatim what I said. And he kind of walked away with his tail between his legs and stopped trying to exhort people to violence. Chad Blingno says, don't you lose your rights to protest when it changes to a riot? You never lose your right to protest. And what riot? What riot are you talking about, Chad? 500,000 people were there. There weren't 500,000 rioters. There were 36 criminal trespassers who broke into an undefended Capitol building, which was intentionally left undefended by Sund. Maybe not, because he requested support. It was denied by the Sergeant Arms. And who did he do it on? On whose authority and whose approval? And who did he brief? The person responsible for security at the legislative branch. The person responsible for security at Capitol Hill is not the Capitol Hill Police Chief, not the Sergeant of Arms. They are directly responsible, but the person operationally responsible for security at the Capitol building is the Speaker of the House of Representatives, none other than Nancy Feckless Pelosi. She bears responsibility and should resign from the House of Representatives. Certainly resign the Speaker's position because she's not capable of performing her job. She intentionally left the Capitol undefended in the hope that this would happen. And this is why I strongly believe that there were false flag operations, because I talked to these idiots who didn't know anything about Trump. They were just starting trouble. And they were there before Trump even started speaking. So this fiction about Trump bringing people there is utter nonsense. By the way, when a riot starts, smart people leave. I left there after 2 p.m. There was no riot. There was no violence. There were some idiots trying to tussle with the police, and they were getting pepper sprayed and pushed back. But 500,000 people were well behaved, respected the law. We don't abrogate our rights. No one takes our rights away because someone committed a crime. We weren't part of it. I was there as a journalist and as a private citizen, and we weren't part of it. We don't lose any rights. You never lose that right. Now, if someone creates violence, you need to get away from it. That's the bottom line. Ooh, well, Keith Alderson, so they're going to be sanitizing again. Hey, listen, I like to get my hands on those tenders. 551 million rand, $38 million to clean the schools. I can clean the schools. I'll tell you what, I can name that tune in 2 notes. I can clean your schools in South Africa for $100,000. How's that? I'll hire unemployed South Africans to do it, and I'll buy all the sanitizer I need, and I'll still make $60,000 profit. Drunken Yoda says, I have a quick clip of the attorney telling her off on my channel. Check it out when not busy. Telling who off? What are you talking about? Ian says, unfortunately, I don't know the topic, but have you heard that Zuma is now hiding in Nkandla with military preventing? I don't know anything about the military being in Nkandla. That's news to me. I haven't seen that reported anywhere. Do you know that for a fact, or is it being reported in the press? Awesome Alice says, yep, that's why she pushed it so quick. Oh, look over there, not at me. Oh, telling Nancy Pelosi off. Oh, okay. Thank you, Drunken Yoda. I just realized you're talking about telling off Nancy Pelosi. Gotcha. Debbie Burns says, yes, she's a drunk hag on American taxpayers' time. Yep. Oh, so you're in South Africa. Huh? Who's in South Africa? Awesome Alice. Me? No. I'm in Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania. I've been to South Africa about 450 times. I've lived adjacent to it in Gaborone. But no, I'm not in South Africa. Just now reported. We'll share a link. Thank you, Ian. I appreciate that. And I'll check into it. Why would the military be there? First off, the military has no role in VIP security. That's not their mission. So if the military is at Nkandla, my prediction of a vote of no confidence may have been overly diplomatic, and maybe a military coup is what's in order here. Wow. Awesome Alice, where are you at? If you don't mind sharing. Chad says, a riot is a form of civil disorder commonly characterized by a group lashing out in violent public disturbance against authority, property, or people. Yes, thank you for the definition and looking up there, Chad, but there was no riots. That occurred after I left. So do I lose my right to seek redress from my government, which is guaranteed in my Constitution, because someone committed violence after I was gone. Had it started when I was there, I would have left, or I would have intervened with others to stop people from doing it. There were people who actively intervened and tried to stop people from breaking into the Capitol building. You can see it on the video, grabbing a hold of people, pulling them back, trying to stop them from doing it. Also, people pulling people away from the fences, but the media never shows that. Oh, the old MK cadres. Okay, thank you, Olaf. So they're not military. They're just fake warriors. Mkonto Isizwe, the joke of Southern Africa. I'm telling you, folks, when I lived in Botswana, members of the Botswana government and the Botswana Defense Force, when we'd have private moments and talk about South Africa and the liberation era and talk about the ANC and Mkonto Isizwe, they would laugh. They would laugh at how ridiculous the ANC was because they were nothing. They came to Botswana for privilege and for safety, not to actually accomplish anything. And their military was a joke. Their military was a joke. Chad says you left, as you say, so your rights are intact, but those who riot, what about them? Well, they're criminals. They're criminals. If they commit violence, they're criminals. So what about them, Chad? You arrest them. You prosecute them. Case closed. Listen, Ashley Babbitt got shot, and on the day there were a lot of emotions running high. And my comment about Ashley Babbitt is that she is the architect of her own demise. Now, I don't mean to be cold, because I'm not being cold. I'm just stating a fact. She broke into the building. Maybe she didn't break the window herself. She entered the building. She knew it was wrong. And she rushed through the building. And then the doors were shut. They were barricaded from the other side. There were law enforcement officials with sidearms. You could see them. You could see the sidearms. And then she chose to advance towards that door. Now, I don't want to hear about, well, she was lifted up and pushed. It really doesn't matter. She shouldn't have been there. She should have been outside the building expressing herself. Now, look, people, if that bothers you, I'm sorry. She's the architect of her own demise. It's unfortunate she's dead, and I don't know if it was legitimate use of force. We're still waiting for that investigation to be resolved. But the bottom line is this, is that she went in there. She's a criminal. I have been in the Capitol building. You can only go in with approval and clearance. I had to have a community, even with an intelligence community badge, I couldn't simply walk in the Capitol building. I had to have approval. It had to be scheduled to come over there. And I went over there to testify on more than one occasion. So who are these people? This nonsense. It's the people's house. It's not the people's house. It belongs to the federal government. Yes, the federal government belongs to us. But it's not like you can just hang out and camp there. I mean, national parks belong to us too. But you can't just rock up on them and do what you want. It belongs to the country as a whole, not to you or me as an individual. Keith says, a press report the ANC's military guarding Zuma, so he can't be arrested. Well, let's clarify something. If the ANC has a military, they are criminals. There's only one military in South Africa. It's the South African National Defense Force. And anyone else purporting to be a military is a domestic terrorist. So if ANC is saying that, or if the media is saying that the MK is the ANC's military, then they're terrorists. Now, if it's the MK Veterans Association, that's different. They can have their own private security, but you cannot be a military. Not legally, not legitimately. You're just a terrorist. McBean, how I went blue. Okay. Mark Zuckerberg has also been blamed for the riots, I presume because Trump's tweet to people. Yeah, but Zuckerberg has nothing to do with that. That's Jack Dorsey. No, Zuckerberg has been blamed because the reality is this. The people I'm talking about, the false flag operation, they actively planned the bullshit that they pulled off on the 6th of January. They actively planned that for days prior to the event using Facebook. This is what the FBI investigation has revealed. And also intelligence warned officials at that time. By the way, is anybody talking about the fact that Donald Trump offered 10,000 National Guard troops to defend the Capitol building 5 days before the event? So January 1st, January 2nd, he offered 10,000 National Guard. Is anyone reporting that? No, they're not, because it undermines the narrative. But Donald Trump did offer it. Also, I heard the lies yesterday. I heard on the news program, these slime balls. Oh, Donald Trump didn't respond for 4 hours. That's not true. Donald Trump went on Twitter while it was happening after he found out about it. Shortly afterwards, he went on Twitter, he did a video and told people to go home. Behave peacefully. This is not what we do. I know he did it because I was in contact with Ronaldo Jos in South Africa, who sent me a note after I left DC. He said, hey, did you see Donald Trump posted this? And he said, I did a screen capture of it. because I heard it was, I'm sorry, I tried to get to it, and I said I can't get to it when I was at the rest stop. He said, well, let me get to it. He got to it in South Africa, and he made me a screen capture to show me. Twitter deleted it. They deleted his video so that these slime balls could fraudulently claim that he never tried to stop anything from happening. But that's not his job. It's the Capitol Police job. It's Nancy Pelosi's job. But Donald Trump tried to stop, and they removed his communication. So I heard some jackass on the news yesterday, well, Donald Trump, if he'd only said something, why didn't he go on? He has millions of people on Twitter. Why? Because they blocked his stuff. As soon as he posted, they removed it. First, they prevented anybody from sharing it, retweeting it. They prevented people from liking it. Then they removed it within minutes after Trump posted it. So you dinguses in the media don't know what the hell you're talking about. Get your head out of your rectum. Donald Trump did try to stop it. It's all lies. All lies. Chad says, well, Chad, now we're speaking the same language. If you riot, you have no right to protest. That's not a protest. The black supremacy group Black Lives Matter abrogated its right to protest because it's a violent racial supremacy group who trends towards violence. But according to Joe Biden, it's not a group. It's just an idea. So how do they get $1.2 billion to an idea? You don't. You give it to a group. You're right. Every privilege comes with rules and regulations. Now our rights are different. But exactly, Awesome Alice. You can't go into theater and go, fire, because that's a public hazard. You can be prosecuted for going in a crowded theater and yelling fire or a building because people could be injured, trampled to death. You harm public safety. But I can go stand on the mall and say Joe Biden is a racist. I can say that if I want. That's protected speech. I could even say it in a theater. People might be angry if I say it, but I can even say it in a theater. Debbie Burns says, I heard they bust in Antifa and security removed the barricades, allowing protesters to get closer, have access. I don't know about Antifa being busted in. Lots of people say that. What I can attest to, because I was there, is that the barriers were removed. When I approached the Capitol, so here, let me just run through the events very quickly, folks. I arrived in D.C. I nearly turned back because the traffic was horrendous on 270 going south. I got off below Frederick and said, I'm going back. And I said, no, I did promise I would try to cover this event. So let me take some back roads. So I drove back north and then went west towards the Potomac and drove down back roads all the way down till I got to the Beltway around D.C. just before the Potomac River. Got on the Beltway, got down the George Washington Parkway, GW Parkway, and drove down to Fort McNair. Parked my car at Fort McNair, walked outside the gate, set up my mobile on a tripod with Audi Field. That's where the DC United soccer team plays. Brand new stadium right behind me. And I said, hey, folks, I'm headed into the mall. It's my first live stream. Once I get there, I'll give you updates about what's happening here. I came for the protests at the Capitol, but apparently Trump is going to speak this morning, so I'll cover that as well. And then I left. I walked the 2 miles to the mall. And when I got to the mall, I tried to do a live stream on the mall as I saw people streaming in. And I had no data. The networks were shut down. That's another thing. All these media guys, well. Trump sent messages. I wouldn't have gotten them. I got no messages. My internet was shut down by the carrier. Now, before people say, no, it wasn't nefarious. When big events like this take place, the carriers have a responsibility to maintain the network so they can send emergency notifications over the network and can make emergency calls to 911 and things like that in case you need to. So what they do when they have 200,000, 500,000, million people show up in D.C. is the carriers will shut off the data for non-priority customers. I'm just a regular Joe. I'm not the president, although they probably shut his off too. So I couldn't get any data. So I started streaming and it wouldn't go anywhere. It was just the network was saturated. It was early, 10 o'clock in the morning. I hit the mall at exactly 10 o'clock. I walked around. I was every angle, every place, the Washington Monument, Constitution Avenue. The only thing I didn't do was go onto the ellipse because you had to go through security, and I wasn't going to do that, and I didn't really care to see it that much. I just came to report on the events. So I walked up and down 15th Street, then down 16th Street, back onto the mall. But Trump was almost an hour late starting his speech. And then he went on and on and on and on. So at 1:45, I'm like, Congress meets at 1. I came for the joint session and to cover what's happening in Capitol Hill. I got to go. Now, I have long legs and I move at a pretty good pace. So I took off. But as I left, thousands of other people had already started leaving too because they didn't come for Trump. I mean, it was a sideshow. He was there. They went for the Capitol Hill protest. By the way, there were 5 permits issued for the Capitol Hill protest, including Alex Jones. He had a permit. 5 permits for groups on both sides of the Capitol, the east and west side. So I walked there. I arrived. As I approached the Capitol building a few minutes before 1 o'clock, there were thousands of people sitting around the waiting pool. There's a pool out there, a body of water, a pond, whatever you want to call it. And there were thousands, easily 10, 15,000 people sitting around that at that point. I took a few snaps, and then I looked and I saw people were up by the steps where the inauguration was going to happen. Like, I would assume that was going to be blocked off. They wouldn't want people up there because inauguration, because they've already set up the stands and then the television tower. But there were a few thousand people up there. So I walked along the street to the right-hand side. I was passed by a bunch of bicycle-riding law enforcement officers, about 18 of them or so. And as I walked up, I saw Capitol Police marching in uniform to the right-hand side, about 20 of them. And terrible. They can't march in sync. They're obviously not soldiers. And I noted that. And as I walked up towards the steps, towards the Capitol building, on the right-hand side, which would be the south side of the west side of the building, I saw the snow fencing that had been put up, but it had been opened by the police. They never did close off. So people were walking in there. Well, it was open. So I walked up on the grass, got all the way up there. And as I got up to the grass, I looked and I saw the people were up in top of the tower, climbing up the tower. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Why is that even open? Why is it even there? And then I looked and I saw a whole bunch of people were already on the steps up there. I'm like, it's not closed? So I walked around and it wasn't blocked off in any way. You could walk all the way up to the very steps. And people were there. There were agitators there trying to entice people into causing trouble. And you could see them. I got some of them caught on video as they got pepper sprayed and then they pulled back from the line and they started harassing police. But you see tens of thousands of people around me who are peaceful, law-abiding citizens seeking a right of redress, which is what we went there for, to make our voices be heard. I mean, make no mistake. Go back and watch my videos since November. When people ask me what's going to happen, I told you all along what's going to happen. The fraud will be allowed to persist. That day, I simply wanted the objections to be raised and the deliberation to take place so we have a record that it was at least done. I had no hope or prayer whatsoever that the Congress was going to actually not count electoral college votes or count alternate slate of electors and change the election outcome. Wasn't going to happen. They're cowards. They would never have done it. Never. And also this whole thing about, the vice president. The vice president has no power to do that. He just presides over it. He has no authority there. The only time the vice president's authority in the Senate is when it's deadlocked at 50-50. Then he gets the deciding vote. That's it. But that wasn't germane in this case. Anyway, so yeah, it is anybody that genuinely thought that people thought that something was going to change there is delusional, or they're simply lying. Please play the CBS News interview with Michael Vanderveen, Trump's lawyer, for 3 minutes. He destroys MSN. But the problem with that is that CBS News is fraudulent. You're allowed to play news clips when you comment on them or use them to tell a story, but CBS always puts a copyright claim on there. So if I play it, then I'm going to get a copyright claim. So I'll have to look for it and try to find it, and maybe I'll put it in a prepared video. That way I can at least take that one down if they try to go after me. But yeah, the problem with that is that Vutsarko is that'll be a copyright claim. I know this because I have put 60 Minutes and I've put CBS News reports on my videos before, only to be attacked by CBS's, copyright censors and coming after me. So I'll take a look at that later. Alice says, I think people were misled in the process. Well, that's because they're willfully stupid and ignorant, Alice. I mean, if Americans don't understand how our political system works, that's their own fault. If you care so passionately about Joe Biden or about Donald Trump and about the electoral process, one has an obligation to become informed. Listen, I wasn't a Pennsylvania resident. I lived here, but I was active duty U.S. Army, and so I still voted in my state of residence, which was Ohio. Since 1989, I've been voting in Ohio absentee. But I live in Pennsylvania now, and so when I became a resident and registered to vote last year, I educated myself and became aware of how the system works here. And that's why I've been reporting on the executive branch's electoral fraud since September on my streams. In September, the governor and the state of Pennsylvania's executive branch announced they were going to violate Pennsylvania's election law. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania passed a law on October 19th of 2019. That law made it possible for this scam, fraudulent mail-in balloting BS nonsense to happen. There were no mail-in ballots prior to that. Only legitimate federal absentee ballots were authorized prior to that for military, for diplomats out of the country, for the military in other states or overseas, and for business people outside the state or those who were infirm and unable to go to a polling station. That's the only mail-in, and that's all it should be, ever. But they created this BS law on October 19th of 2019. It was signed into law by our feckless governor, El Duce himself, Tom Wolf, the fascist in Harrisburg. And that became the law. I registered to vote in this state after the election last year because I voted, or not last year, 2019, because I voted 2019 as well in Ohio. But I registered after the election, after I achieved residency status here legitimately, after having spent 60 days here in Pennsylvania when I got my driver's license. I registered to vote, and then I was eligible to vote. So I voted here. So I educated myself on the law here. And I knew that when they said in September that they would not require postmarks, which violates the chain of custody, that they would accept ballots 10 days after the election, which violates the integrity of the election, and also allows people to wait to see what the results are and then change the outcome. And that they would not require the signature to match that on file of the voter. I said starting in September of 2020 that this is fraudulent. They are defrauding Pennsylvania voters, and they put 7 million voters at risk of our electoral votes not counting. I said that. Go back and watch my videos. I also told people very clearly what was going to happen. Once there was no remedy between the 3rd of November and the 8th of December when they had to turn in their slate of electors to the Electoral College, that was the time for a remedy. Pennsylvania did not even seek a remedy. The Republicans sat on their ass in the state and didn't do anything. Didn't do anything. In the legislature, what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about candidates. I'm not talking about aggrieved parties. I'm talking about the legislature. They did nothing. And they committed fraud, the executive branch and the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. So I became aware of election law here. It's the responsibility of Americans to understand how our system works. Every time I hear somebody say the Electoral College and they start talking about it, they have no idea what they're talking about. So people actually know. This implicit faith in the Supreme Court. Do a little history. Learn a little something in school. The Supreme Court is the same organization that's made mistake after mistake throughout our history. The Supreme Court legally endorsed the Dred Scott decision, saying that Dred Scott, who was a free man, was actually a slave and sent him into bondage. A free man because he was black. Now, legally, that was in compliance with the law, but morally it was reprehensible. If we have a court, the Burger Court, that thinks it can contort the 14th Amendment to say that women have the right to commit abortion because of the Equal Protection Clause, while there's no equal protection for the child or the fetus, that's an American citizen, then certainly the court could have done the morally right thing and said, no, Dred Scott is a free man. Although he's been captured and put in slavery, he must be released because he was a free man. They didn't do that. Also, the Supreme Court is the same body that came up with Plessy versus Ferguson, in which they said that it was okay for separate but equal. It was legal segregation, according to the Supreme Court. And that lasted from 1897 and thereabouts until 1954, when Brown versus the Board of Education stopped legal segregation in the United States. So the court gets things wrong. People need to learn how our system works. And if people were misled, then they're not very bright. They're not very bright, and that's on them. I'm on Rumble, Debbie, but I'm not impressed by it. I'm also on BitChute, and I've not loaded any videos in BitChute because it's just too complicated. I'm awaiting 2 other platforms that are coming up before I get blanketly shut off of here. Yes, Debbie Burns, John Roberts is a fraud, and I suspect all along this is conspiracy theory stuff, but I've always suspected they have some dirt on him. How can you possibly say that the Unaffordable Care Act is constitutional? The Unaffordable Care Act required a mandate to buy insurance. The U.S. government cannot make American citizens buy anything. That's un-American. They have no authority to make us buy anything. Yet John Roberts contorted the Constitution to side with the left to allow the Unaffordable Care Act to become the law of the land. And it destroyed healthcare in this country. Yep. I agree with you. You need to get rid of him. Mail-in ballots remind me of Lincoln's second election. I said this history is replaced. Yeah. No, I got you there. Well, speaking in courtrooms, Chad, there are four lawsuits that are going to the Supreme Court in 4 days on the 18th this week, unless they postpone it. They're going to hear the arguments for 4 court cases, including Trump cases. The court case for the Pennsylvania Republican legislator who was defrauded here in Pennsylvania that was ignored by the Supreme Court is now on the docket. Of course, they did all this. They're hearing the cases after there's no remedy. So what's going to come out of this? So that case is up there. Sidney Powell's case is up there. Lynn Wood's case is up there. And a Trump case. All of them are going to be heard by the court. For fraud in Pennsylvania, for fraud in Georgia, for fraud in Michigan, and I forget what the last one is. I think it's Arizona or Nevada. It might have been, I think it's Arizona. So 4 court cases. Does anybody know that? Is the mainstream media talking about it? I actually did a video on it. 4 election fraud cases are being heard by the Supreme Court. Well, it's about damn time. How about you did this on November 10th? Not now. Drunken Yoda has it on his channel. Yeah, but Drunken Yoda, I've already had fraudulent claims against me, and I'm on thin ice, even though I didn't violate any community standards. So I have to be careful. No, the place wasn't remotely secured. It wasn't just the Capitol Hill Police. It was the negligence of those responsible for security at the Capitol building refusing Department of Defense assistance 5 days before the event, 2 days before the event, and the morning of the event, they turned down assistance. Then they asked for it in the midst of the riot that took place. Well, it's a bit late. The National Guardsmen aren't sitting at the Armory in D.C. 2 miles away going, oh, okay, let's roll out the gate now. You don't just send people out. They're not law enforcement. You have to prepare. You have to rehearse. You have to plan. You have to activate them, bring them in from their jobs and bring them in, assemble them. So they screwed the pooch. Remember that Muriel Bowser famously said, I'm activating the National Guard. She activated 100 guardsmen from D.C. 100. When there are over 20,000 guardsmen in the tri-state region right there that could have been called upon. Just from D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. Yep. And the D.C. Metro Police, 3,800 police officers of the D.C. Metro Police. Where the hell were they at? Well, I can tell you where they're at. They were blocking the entrances into the center of D.C. They weren't in the center of D.C. They were nowhere to be found unless they were plain clothes and hiding amongst the crowd. They were nowhere. No police presence. I saw one police vehicle the entire 4 hours I was there. And that was down by the Washington Monument. They were turning around and driving through, people on the street, which is a bit dangerous. But, they weren't reckless, but it was, it's pretty silly. That's it. People urinating in public because there were no toilets. And that was a complaint I had about the Trump campaign. Not enough toilets. If you're going to invite people to come to the speech, you better have a lot more toilets. And they didn't have anywhere near enough toilets. So people were urinating on the street over by the Smithsonian. No police presence for that. All kinds of stuff happening. Pretty crazy. I think people were misled in the process. Yes, Alice, they were misled in the process. I agree. Misleading is due to them not teaching actual American history. Yes, I agree. Awesome, Alice. Okay, so let me say a little anecdotal story here, folks, so that we're straight. Thanks everybody tuning in at this really early hour for me. I wasn't expecting to go this long or have an audience of 50, but thank you. 44 likes so far. Thanks. If you can smash the like button, I'd appreciate it. Too early for the trolls, I guess. But here, so I was in Tunisia when 9/11 happened, and I came back to work in the National Security Agency after that. Well, I came back, and I got back here in December of 2001, flew into the States. And then after I got back here, December, January, February, everywhere I go, I hear people still belly aching about the 2000 election. The Supreme Court stole the election for George Bush. I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, Al Gore won the election. I said, no, he didn't. Yeah, he won. He had more votes. I said, that's not germane. What are you talking about? What votes? That doesn't matter. What do you mean it doesn't matter? We have a system that's designed to ensure that we never have tyranny of the majority. You see, when this country was founded, there were 13 states that entered the Union, Delaware being the first one. Those 13 states, 9 of them were tiny states with small populations, small economies, mostly agrarian. They would never have joined a country in which they had no say. So we came up with a very unique system. And these were the safety precautions and measures put in place to ensure that 51% of the population don't persecute 49%. For instance, senators. The legislature is bicameral with a House and a Senate. You have the House based on the population. You get representatives based on your population. So you're represented directly. In the Senate, the states are represented, not people, but the states, because the states are primary. They take primacy over the individual in our republic. That seems to be forgotten in the last century as the federal government has galloped along and stolen sovereignty from the states and from the individual, and grown in size unbelievably. But the states are primary. Therefore, each state, regardless of how many people are in it, 1 or 10 million, gets 2 senators. in the Senate. By the way, the Senate is the senior body of the legislature. Only the Senate has the authority to ratify treaties, not the House. Only the Senate can try the president and his appointed officials, not the House representatives. They play a role, but they don't try. They're not the final arbiter. Only the Senate. So the Senate, which is comprised of 2 senators from every state, which represent the state of Connecticut, the state of Delaware, not the people of Delaware, not the people of Connecticut. The other precaution we put in place is that, and this is why, when we started this country, we started on the Articles of Confederation, a loose confederation of states, and it didn't work. States imposed tariffs. You had to pay taxes to move your goods from Maryland to Pennsylvania over the Mason-Dixon line. Banks produced money all over. Every bank printed its own money. It was a disaster. We didn't have enough resources to fund the federal government. Our sailors were taken and impressed and made into British sailors, basically slaves. The Barbary pirates kidnapped our sailors and our ships and our shipping. We couldn't afford a navy. So we came up with a stronger bond under the Constitution. We also want to protect individual liberties. That's why the Bill of Rights comes in there. The Constitution ensures that we never have a tyranny of the majority because of the 13 states, the only states that had large populations and had massive wealth and really dominated the entire country were Massachusetts, New York, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. Those 4 states were a colossus, population, economy, everything, over the other 9. Delaware, Maryland, South Carolina would never have joined if they didn't have an equal say. The equal say was in the Senate. By the way, we didn't vote for senators. Our senators were selected by the state legislatures until a constitutional amendment in 1912 changed that. All of these protections ensure that 50 plus 1 never says that, well, you can't own property because you're white, you're black, you're blue. Can't have that kind of tyranny. We assure that that's not the case. That's why we have an electoral college, so that the states are represented in presidential elections. That's the bottom line. And most Americans have no idea what the hell I'm talking about because there's no civics classes anymore. So back to my story. So all these people were complaining about the election. I explained this to them, and I find out by talking to my sister, not my sister who is in the stream now or earlier, but another sister, that she was 3 years behind me in school. I went to high school, junior high school in Pennsylvania and then in Ohio, and then high school in Ohio. I took Pennsylvania history when I was here, and I took Ohio history when I was in Ohio, and I took civics in junior high school, and I took American history in high school and American government in high school, all required. My sister later told me after 9/11, after the 2000 election, that she never had to take civics in junior high school. It was eliminated. Then my brother behind her wasn't even required to take American government in high school. So he had no civics, no American government. He's 5 years younger than me. What the hell? The hell's going on here? It's no wonder that we have illiterate Americans when it comes to governance, our system of governance. It's not at all surprising. Robert says it's a great hour for you in Perth. Well, yeah, it's almost 10 o'clock at night in Perth. I'm rarely on at this time. I've been on a few times, but rarely this hour. Trevor says, hope you guys are having a blessed Sunday. When I was doing history here in South Africa in the 70s, we were taught how the Electoral College works. Yeah, look at that. You were taught about our Electoral College in South Africa in the 70s, and Americans aren't even taught about it in 2020 here in America. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Yeah. Not the German dude's channel that stole my name. Huh? Somebody stole your name. Should be the first one. I'm not monetized, so it's not like that 100%. What is Drunken Yoda talking about? I'm a little bit lost on that. Sorry if I'm not keeping up on that. But anyway, folks, yeah, so we had Manie Jackson on the channel this morning. It was awesome. My dad made me read history books when I would misbehave as punishment, and I began to read. Well, that's odd that you took to history when it was your punishment. Because I took to history, it wasn't a punishment. I love history. Of course, I'm a historian and political scientist, so it makes sense. But yeah, no, I ate those things up when I was a kid because I didn't have anything. I was poor, and I could read books and look at maps and learn about the world, and that's what I find fascinating, which makes me a multi-published author today. 2 most recent books. Here you go. Anyway, yeah, so those are book publications, not just academic articles. Also have those too, and popular press as well. 12 articles published during the Rugby World Cup on rugby. Yep. Anyway, yeah, it's a shame that that was your punishment. That's something you should look forward to. But we had a good stream. We had some nice donations from people, which I'm going to make sure gets to Monty Jackson. He was, hey, Lawrence, welcome to you. Daniel Fonsal says keeping people dumb makes them more pliable and to be good fools. Exactly right. And that's exactly what the intent is here, Daniel Fonsal. You are spot on, my friend. That is exactly what it's all about, keeping people stupid, whether it's in South Africa or the United States, and people not understanding history. It is amazing how easily people fall for free things. And, people use the words like hope and kindness and charity and equity, and they're all distorted. It's all about oppression and serfdom. That's what they want. The only freedom is freedom of choice. That's true liberty. That's true liberty. Chad says, it appears the U.S. having educational systems. Why is the U.S. education system decayed so seriously? Because it was intentionally done. Conservatives took their eye off the ball and didn't get involved. Conservatives were out busy building businesses, running farms, serving in uniform, while the leftists infiltrated our education system and destroyed it. And by the time that conservatives woke up, it was too late. Hollywood used to be conservative. Remember the McCarthyism? You remember there were lists of actors that couldn't act because they were communist. Now, was that fair? No, but they were communist. So Hollywood until the 60s was conservative. That's why you have people like Charlton Heston and John Wayne and Clint Eastwood, all who grew up in that era when it was conservative Hollywood. Well, that all changed. And Hollywood was captured by the left. And television was captured as a consequence by the left. The media was slowly captured by the left starting in the 60s and 70s. And now the media, Hollywood, television, schools, universities, and big tech now. That was the last nail in the coffin. All have been captured by the woke left. And they don't care about your freedom and your liberty or your prosperity. It's all about their global elite status. That's what matters to them. Drunken Yoda says, I feel like there should be no electoral votes outside of Continental USA. Is there anything wrong about that? There are no electoral votes outside the U.S. No, you mean Alaska and Hawaii? No, it is wrong, Drunken Yoda, because under our Constitution, those two are states. There's no requirement in the Constitution for a state to be contiguous with the continental United States. So I don't want it, and it's wrong, but, a place like Puerto Rico could become a state. Shouldn't be. Parts of Germany, if they want to become part of the United States, could be, and they get to vote. Yeah, so Alaska and Hawaii do get electoral votes. Yep. And that's legal, legitimate, and moral. And 50 is the right number of states. My dad said I wasn't thinking when I got mad, so he made me use my brain. It was not as bad as a whipping. Actually, I'm glad he did that. Corporal punishment is probably a lot worse than that. So, Gotcha. Yep. Yeah, the U.S. does have educational issues, and it's not the first time. Right, folks? Let me see. There was a couple more news items I want to cover before we run off here. Donald Trump is now a force to be reckoned with, and the Democrats are losing their minds over this. There you go. After the impeachment acquittal, Trump remains dominant in the GOP, according to Steve Peoples at the Associated Press. Republican Party still belongs to Donald Trump after he incited a deadly riot. Look at that fraud. The AP, he didn't incite a deadly riot. He was just acquitted of it. You can't even make that claim. You see the fake news? After he incited a deadly riot. He didn't incite anything. Wow. Wow, look at that fake news, Associated Press. Already covered Jacinda. Oh, Japan has approved its first COVID-19 vaccine, folks. Look at that. Isn't that interesting? Yep, Japan on Sunday formally approved its first COVID-19 vaccine, said it would start nationwide inoculation within days, months behind the U.S. and many other countries. But they developed their own. Well done, Japan. And coming up in just a few more days, ladies and gentlemen, the Mars rover is arriving. Look at this. NASA's rover faces 7 minutes of terror before land. That's the descent to Mars. And hopefully it lands properly. When NASA's Mars rover Perseverance, a robotic astrobiology lab packed inside a space capsule, hits its final stretch of its 7-month journey from Earth this week, it is set to emit a radio alert as it streaks into the thin Martian atmosphere. By the time the signal reaches mission managers some 127 million miles, 204 million kilometers, away at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory near Los Angeles, Perseverance will have already landed on the red planet, hopefully in one piece. The 6-wheel rover is expected to take 7 minutes to descend from the top of the Martian atmosphere to the planet's surface in less time than the 11-minute plus radio transmission Earth. Thus, Thursday's final self-guided descent is set to occur during a white-knuckled interval that JPL engineers affectionately refer to as the 7 minutes of terror. This is a $2.7 billion mission. And we'll be covering it here on Chris White Africa, folks. That's in just a few days. Just a few days. Should be the 18th. Doesn't say which day it is, but it's the 18th, as I recall. Anyway, so a part of my space stream, or my space playlist here, segment on the program, we'll be covering that. Right. Okay. So, folks, I have another stream at 11 a.m., which is 6 p.m. in South Africa, Botswana, and Namibia today. And that is with Wendy Alberts, the Chief Executive Officer of the Restaurants Association of South Africa, who was on my channel previously, but we had some tech problems, so I had to do the audio. Hopefully she's got it sorted, and we'll have a Zoom session. So please tune in for that and come back and catch it. You can also catch my other videos. I did 7 videos yesterday and several the day before, 5 prepared videos and 7 yesterday. So among my videos yesterday, let's take a quick gander at what we got going on here. I did several different things. Excuse me. So I had a Free Uganda video yesterday. Andrew Cuomo, the Grim Reaper of Albany. Justice for New Yorkers from Governor Cuomo. Don't count on it. It's time to put a fork in South African Airways. Solidarity Trade Union's Soltech campus versus state failure. That's the South African Union Solidarity, which built a vocational training school for less than $200 million. And the Gauteng Department of Education alone, because it's located in Gauteng, spent 551 million rand. Vice, they're less than 200 to build an entire campus where people actually go to school, just to clean schools. Trump's lawyers devastate Democrats' unconstitutional sham political show trial. State-owned Air Namibia joins the Dodo as it heads for liquidation. Those are all yesterday. The day before, I had the Free State farmer and lion breeder Pierre Swart is in jail after defending himself on his farm. One prior to that was Chris Hani's murderer, Yanis Valles, was denied parole yet again. Andrew Cuomo aide Melissa DeRosa admits to Albany COVID cover-up. And then Ramaphosa's blacks-only State of the Nation address. And finally, on the same day, Twitter permanently banned Project Veritas. So quite a few videos to take a look at, folks. And also, feel free to go back and watch the Manie Jackson video of the performance this morning, which was pretty awesome. 80 Rand is all you need to start Ethereum. Start what? Are you here shilling for cryptocurrency? Okay. Did you see the China lunar holiday thing they did with the African people in the dance? I did not see that. Was it racist or insensitive? Olaf says, thank you for the stream with Manie Jackson. It was awesome and well enjoyed. Another winner, Chris Wyatt stream. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys did too. Right. So spread the love and buy some Ethereum Classic. I don't mess with Bitcoin or with cryptocurrency, Lithium or Ethereum. That's speculation, and I don't speculate unless it's analysis about predicting something. Watch them all, says Robert. Well, thanks, Robert. I appreciate that. There are some people who are able to watch all my videos, but not a lot of people, so I'm grateful for those who are able to watch it. But with that, folks, I'm going to give it a close right here because it's been an hour and 15 minutes, and I asked you to come back for the Wendy Albert stream. We'll be in a couple hours. I need to get some exercise. I got a couple hours to get it done, so I'm looking forward to that. Please tune in a little bit later, and feel free to watch those other streams. Thank you all so much for your support, and I'll catch you in about 2 hours from now for Wendy Alberts. All right. Just have to see blackface. Oh, of course. Just like the governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia. All right, folks, that's it. I'm out of here. Thank you for your support, and we'll catch you a little bit later here on the channel. And I did cite Africa on the way out, so we're not going to do that. Okay, closing video. Cheers. See you in 2 hours.